Dr. Artis Pabriks, former Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Defence of Latvia, Director of think tank Northern Europe Policy Centre. Finland, hold the line. Annual celebration of the Latvian Independence Day on November 18th came with disturbing news arriving from one of our closest friends, Finland, the new ally in NATO. Finland was under hybrid attack organised by Russian authorities, which were bringing migrants from Middle East and Africa to Finnish border and assisting them to cross it. The same practice was used by Belarus since August 2021 against Latvia, Poland and Lithuania. In 2021, Belarusian dictator Lukashenko, a close ally of Putin, was furious about EU response to his crackdown on his political opposition, mass arrests and torture of opponents after his regime falsified elections in Belarus. The assumption in Belarus was that organised migration flow into neighbouring EU countries would be asymmetric, punishing response to European Union's policy towards Belarus. It was assumed that organised migrant flow would undermine EU security, polarise society as far as its position towards migration, put additional economic burden and undermine EU internal coherence. This assumption was based on previously observed migration crisis of 2015, which deeply divided EU and created enormous political, societal and economic burden in a number of EU countries. In late summer 2021, Belarusian policies towards Latvia, Lithuania, Poland changed overnight. Previously there were coordinated activities of Belarusian and Baltic border guards, existed communication lines on all levels across the border. Despite of different political systems, there was relatively good coexistence of respective state agencies. Suddenly, in summer 2021, telephone lines across the border went silent. Communications stopped. On the Belarusian side appeared large groups of migrants from countries like Iraq, which were brought by Belarusian military and police close to the border and assisted to find ways across forests, swamps and rivers into Latvia, Lithuania and Poland. Before appearing at the border, migrants were brought to Belarus from abroad by state travel agencies with sole purpose to transfer them illegally into neighbouring EU countries. Initially, it put a large stress on Latvian border guards, since Latvian border with Belarus did not have even fence, and previously it was considered relatively safe. Now everything has changed. Latvians faced a choice either to accept migrants or turn them back. Latvian government decided not to allow migrants to cross the border. It was clear that Belarusian authorities, just like Russian authorities these days against Finland, wanted to use the existing international and EU human rights legislation with the purpose to obstruct our democracy and our security. They were looking for loopholes in legislation of our democracies in order to weaken them. It could not be permitted if we wanted to prevail and not to face another mass migrant flow across our border. On August 10, 2021, Latvian Cabinet of Ministers declared emergency situation in 4 municipalities bordering Belarus, strengthened border guard units with personnel and equipment, sent National Guard units to assist, took a number of other measures, including building a fence, in order not to allow illegal crossing to take place. Since those days, emergency situation has been extended several times. Legislation regarding border has been reformed to make it legal to resist hybrid attacks, which continues up to today. In 2023 alone, there have been more than 13,000 illegal attempts to cross the Latvian border. On humanitarian grounds, entrance was allowed to 416 persons, including 162 children. Latvia is not planning to give in to sinister plans of our totalitarian neighbours. Looking to what is happening in Finland these days, there is obvious similar handwriting. Russia is trying to organise hybrid warfare against Finland while waging hot war against Ukraine. Finland is known for its high humanitarian standards and democracy, therefore Russian assumption is to challenge it in their favour. They want to weaken internal societal texture of Finnish society, involve HR NGOs to criticise the government, turn EU legislation against it by further dividing Europe, put additional economic burden on our taxpayers. In short, to make Finland doubt its security and weaken it internally, to punish Finland for its choice to join NATO. Russia is not interested in friendship or peace with its neighbours. It wants to revive their empire and eliminate opposition by force if it would be capable and allowed to do it. What to be done in these circumstances? I lately have read with great pleasure Meinander's book on Mannerheim. Being a big fan of Marshall, I can only suggest what he once suggested to Finns in interwar period. Be ready for the worst. This time, Baltic nations of Latvia, Estonia and Lithuania, as well as Poland, are united in their position regarding hybrid migrant attacks. Finland is welcome to join common position and hold the line. We are not alone in this challenge. After initial hesitation, European Commission is understanding the grave challenges at our and EU eastern borders. EU countries bordering Russia and Belarus should initiate and demand new EU programs to strengthen our outside borders, not only against any kind of hybrid attacks, but also against military emergencies. We should use all the available technologies to make our borders safe against hybrid or conventional incursions. It should be 21st century Mannerheim line of EU and NATO if we want to sleep with ease in nights. We should coordinate our border security activities between these 5 nations as well as with others. However, the decisive factor granting safety against revanchist Russia willing to revive its empire is our help to Ukrainian nation to win the war. The West should stop hesitation. It must put all its economic might behind Ukraine, and instead to standing by Ukraine, it should grant anything for the victory of Ukraine. The hybrid attacks on Finnish or Baltic borders are just extension of war against Ukraine. They are an existential threat to our freedom and our lives, and as such they must be treated. Therefore, Latvian advice to Finland in these difficult days while facing hybrid attack is the same as advice we give to ourselves. Finland, hold the line.